You're tuned in to Real Talk with Tamara, where conversations are real, voices are heard, and the real stars here. The real stars here. No filter, no fear. Truth in the mic, let the whole world hear. Stories unfold, voices sincere. Welcome to the place where the real starts here. From life and love to the latest news, community voices, different views, breaking it down so we all stay clear. Honest conversations live right here. Speak your truth, let it be known. This is the space where your voice has a home. No judgment here, just real and clear. Real talk with Tamara, the real starts here. Real talk with Tamara. Real people, real stories, real truth.
Thank you guys for tuning in to Real Talk with Tamara. On today's show, we have Mayoral candidate Heidi Kuhn, and she is also the criminal court's clerk. Okay. Heidi has been doing a lot within the community. As I told you all before, y'all know how brazen I can be sometimes because I am so serious about us in Memphis and Shelby County getting the right people in office. It is necessary for the future of our communities, of all communities. And you all know I speak a lot about, I said to you all that we have to start vetting candidates and not voting based on parties, although Heidi is a Democrat, and definitely not voting based on race, but on who is going to do the job to help with our communities. Thank you. And thus far, Heidi has been doing that. She has a track record of doing that. But what she has done at the criminal court clerk's office, and one of the things that I've been really impressed with what Heidi has done as far as expungements, because one of the cries, especially in our community, is, well, I can't get a job because, of my criminal background. I don't know what to do. Some people think that they need a lawyer to get their backgrounds expunged, but the way that she has been having these successful clinics and just making it possible for people to get their backgrounds clear so that they can get jobs to take care of their families. I really appreciate that. Thank you for being here, Heidi.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm excited to speak to you and your listeners.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Not sure where to start, but let me start with some of my history of when I started with Shelby County government. So I have worked for Shelby County government for over 26 years. I started in the health department with reducing adolescent pregnancy and assisting those who had HIV and AIDS. I then was appointed as the executive director of the Crime Victim Center, helping women in domestic violence situations, as well as aiding families who had lost loved ones to homicide. And then I became the Deputy Director of Community Services over all victim and offender services, as well as Veterans Affairs and the Aging Commission. And then I created a training program for Shelby County government that did not exist for the 5,000 employees. Then I was the special assistant and lead strategist to the sheriff, reducing the opioid epidemic within the jail and creating mental health programs. And then in 2018 and again in 2022, Shelby County elected me as your criminal court clerk. And that is what I have done thus far.
Now, Heidi, you know that, in the office that I work in, we always have conversation. And I'm talking about the investigators in my office, and that's something that we've been talking about. We love what you have done for the criminal court clerk's office as far as your employees, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the cries have been not being able to get a raise. Oftentimes, and for you to go in and do what you've done for your employees has really impressed quite a bit of people within our office, and I think I can feel safe in saying that you definitely have a lot of people, that's just based on your record and your dedication to your employees, that's gonna vote for you in this election. But tell me, when you got into the, we're going to talk about the mayoral race, but let's talk about something that so many people have questions about. What made you start going so hard as far as the expungement clinics?
Well, since you mentioned it, I actually want to kind of go back a little bit to what you said in regard to the raises, because I truly believe that the Shelby County employees were poorly paid. And we had individuals in my office that had to have 2 and 3 jobs just to make ends meet. And so it was my thought to go ahead and raise the level to at least 40,000 minimum. And when I brought that solution to the mayor at the time, he thought, you know what, that's a really good idea. And therefore, all Shelby counties or all Shelby County government employees that were making less than 40,000 actually did get that raise. And so I was so glad to see that it wasn't just my office that got the raise. It was the entire Shelby County government employees. So they are very well deserved and actually should be paid a little bit more. But you asked expungements. So it's always been a passion of mine to provide second chances, because I truly believe in people and I want to lift them up. And I always have said that just because you have a past doesn't mean you can't have a future. And so when I became the criminal court clerk and I found out that there were over 1,400 applications in the queue waiting to be approved for an expungement, but they hadn't been touched and they'd been sitting there, some of them for years. And my predecessor, it wasn't a priority for him. He expunged maybe 600 people in 2.5 years. And I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. And we needed to provide opportunities for people. So I decided to start these clinics. And just yesterday, we had our 34th clinic. We partnered with the Grizzlies at the FedEx Forum, and we saw over 250 people. And we typically can expunge about 20% of those. And since I was elected in 2018, I'm very proud to say that we have expunged over 10,000 Shelby Countyans.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That is so awesome. Now, could you kind of let my audience know what are the qualifications to be able to get expunged? What do they need to do?
Sure. And also, let me just say, a lot of people don't even know what an expungement means. And it really just means clearing of the record. Now, you have to be eligible for an expungement. And what that means is it has to be certain cases. It needs to be nonviolent cases. And you can get 2 things expunged. You can get 2 misdemeanors or 1 misdemeanor and 1 felony. However, there is a caveat to that. If it is null pros or not prosecuted, or it is dismissed, there is the possibility that you could get more things off your record if you have some dismissals as well as your felony or your misdemeanor. So what I always suggest is come to one of our clinics, or they can call our office at 222-3200 and ask for expungements, and we can look up your record. All we need is your name and your date of birth, and we can let them know if they are eligible for an expungement. Now, some things are not eligible. DUIs are not eligible, anything domestic violence related, any sexual assault. And unfortunately, if you have something that you have pled guilty, that is not expungible either, unfortunately. But the great news is in 2021, I helped advocate for the expansion of felonies. And so now it's A through E. And so there are more people that are eligible for an expungement more than they were previously. So I always say, if you came to a clinic prior to 2021, I would really tell you and come to one of the clinics or call our office, because you may be eligible now for an expungement. Oh, and I also want to add, Tamara, if you have fines and fees, you have to pay those first. But something that I implemented was called the settlement solution. And what that is if you owe more than $1,000 of fines and fees, if you come in and you pay me 50% of what you owe, I will zero out your balance so that you can get an expungement.
Wow, that is so awesome. And believe it or not, I'm so happy that we're talking about this because don't you know a lot of people thought that in order to get an expungement, they needed to get a lawyer.
That is a misnomer. You don't need thousands of dollars and you do not need an attorney. And also, there is no fee. So in 2021, there was legislation passed that allowed a clerk to waive the expungement fee if they so chose. I am the only clerk in the state of Tennessee who waives that fee. And it may only be $100, but to me, $100 means a lot to others. It could be medicine, it could be diapers, it could be gas. Gosh, especially nowadays, it's definitely gas.
Absolutely.
So it was important to me to make sure that we're reducing barriers and increasing opportunities. And so when I get some pushback with that, saying that could be a revenue stream for your office, with that money, you could probably hire 2 or 3 people. And I look at it as absolutely, I probably could. However, I am able to expunge 10,000 people in offering 10,000 jobs. And to me, that is for the greater good.
Absolutely. Now you're running for Shelby County Mayor. I remember I was walking into the court one day. I had heard, I think that Heidi Kuhn is going to put her name in the race, and I remember I asked you that, and I think a little about a while later I saw you and you was like, yeah, I've decided I was going to do that, and I was so excited because I think it's something that we need. But what made you want to run for mayor?
What made me run is the fact that I have been doing the work for 26 years. I have been in the community. I have made a difference in every position that I've held. I understand county government. I understand the budget, and I know what the different divisions are. Because, Tamara, this is not an entry-level position. You need a mayor who's going to go in and have an understanding of how everything operates. You need to have someone who has good relationships with the state and with the community. And so I had lunch with my dear friend, the late Honorable Bill Morris, and I told him I was considering this run. And we were having lunch, and he put down his utensils and he looked at me straight in my face and he said, well, Heidi, why the hell not? He said, you've been doing the work and you are a strong candidate, and I don't know why you wouldn't do this. And I took that to say, that is my sign. That is what I need to do. I truly believe and love Shelby County. I want to make a difference. I have no higher aspirations. This is not a stepping stone for me. I have done the training. I've been in government for 26 years, and that's what sets me apart from all of the other candidates. No one has the experience that I have. No one has made an impact in Shelby County community like I have. No one has relationships with the state like I have, or the other municipal mayors. And so this has just led me to the decision of it's time. And it's time for change, because I truly believe that people are very tired of where we are as a county right now. And I think I can make a difference. I've made a difference in every position I've held, and now I'm going to make a difference as mayor.
Okay, I want to ask you a few questions. How will you address the growing concerns about affordable housing and crime?
Okay. Let's take affordable housing first. So there's something that I want to create. It's called an empowerment zone. And what an empowerment zone is, it's we invest in communities, which increases affordable housing around schools. We make sure that there aren't food deserts, and we invest in local businesses so that those communities can thrive. But in regard to affordable housing, there is something called the opioid abatement program, and we'll be getting about $20 million for the next 15 years. I would like to take some of that money and allocate it towards down payment for individuals, like maybe $5,000 for givable loans, so that individuals can purchase homes. Because I believe if someone purchases their home, they're going to feel a sense of pride, and they're going to have a neighborhood, they're going to have a community. It's going to reduce the crime in those areas, and it's also going to reduce the blight. And in regard to crime, there's a couple things of how I want to approach crime. So I used to be on the crime commission, and we had something called community policing. And for your listeners, they may remember officer friendly. And right now we see it as officer enemy. And I want to try and change that narrative. I want the police to be more of, we go to them when we need the help. There's something we had during the crime commission in which MPD or the sheriff's office would actually go to a high crime area and they would set up shop in one of the apartments and they would do some tutoring. They would talk to the residents. They would play basketball with the kids. And there was just this sense of community there, and the crime reduced in those areas. And then they would go elsewhere and do the same thing and replicate the same program. I also think that the Shelby County Sheriff's Department needs to have expanded jurisdiction within the inner circle of the loop. Currently, they don't do that. And I think it could lower the crime in that way because we would have more patrolling. But unfortunately, MPD and the sheriff's office don't currently get along. So that is something that I would really want to do. I could be the conduit to conversations and figuring out how we can work better together for the betterment of the community.
Absolutely. How do you plan what measures will you take to build a more inclusive city?
So, more inclusive city, one of the things that I would love to do is Shelby County Mayor is a Shelby County for all. It's not just for Memphis. It's not for Germantown, Collierville. It's all of Shelby County. So one of the things I would love to do is have these community councils or advisory committees that would include different sectors like education or crime or arts, things like that, and bring those stakeholders in to have conversations about what are the goals, what do you think needs to happen, because I want to make decisions with you. I don't want to make decisions for you. So it's very important for me to have a good understanding about what is the need in those specific communities. And we can only do that by involving the community members. And therefore, we'll be able to have more transparency and more accountability because people will have an understanding about what it is that's happening, where we're going, and what we want to do.
Okay, now one of the biggest issues within Memphis and Shelby County is definitely poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you talk a lot about training, which is one of the things that I love because your husband was big on that too. Training, which is good. I love that. But what are the things that you plan to do to help to eliminate this poverty?
One of the things that I'm looking at, and kind of everything is surrounded with, with crime. You had asked me about what I want to do with that, because crime isn't about locking people up. We have to look at prevention. And one of the things we need to look at is poverty and education. A lot of these kids are not going to go to college, and some of them may not even graduate high school. But one of the things I would love to see is for kids to have something to do and also to have more wealth. And so I would love to see some of the trades coming into the schools, and then we could have apprenticeships. If these kids could learn certain skill sets like plumbing or HVAC, things like that, they can make bank, more so than some of the individuals that may be going to colleges. And so that would provide them with an opportunity for education as well as an ability to get a job as soon as they get out of the school or receive a certification. That's been an issue. The other thing, when you mentioned poverty, those empowerment zones that I'm talking about, it is reinvesting in the community, ensuring that we're making sure that there are no more food deserts, that there's no more food insecurities. We've got to provide for these families, and also expanding pre-K. What I've noticed, even in these expungement clinics, is we have an adult illiteracy problem in Shelby County because
Absolutely.
a lot of these people cannot even fill out our application. And so one of the things I've done is with these clinics, I've brought in an adult literacy programs. And so these people can sign up and learn. But if these adults cannot read to their children, then we can't expect the children to be able to read just because they're going to school. But I really would like to expand universal pre-K because I want to get kids started off on the right foot, starting off at 3 or 4 years old, going into the schools. But I also want to look at, kids are not just test scores. A lot of these kids don't test well. I'm not a great tester. I'm a smart individual, but I don't like testing. And I think all too often these kids are defined by their test or their scores. And I know we're going into TCAPs, but I would love to see how we can really look at these kids and evaluate these children all throughout the year so that we can set them up for success and not failure, or by the school setting them up for failure by saying, well, they didn't do well in TCAP. So I think when we tackle poverty, it is all encompassing. There's not one magic bullet. It's not just reducing crime. It's not increasing education. It's not providing housing. It's all of it. And we want to bring a person back to whole. And that is really the issue and the problem, and something that I would love to tackle.
Okay, and speaking of the education system, now everyone has had their eyes on the inside of Shelby County, on the outside of Shelby County, because I have people in my chat that lives on the outside of Shelby County, but they've definitely been paying attention to everything that goes on in Memphis and Shelby County.
Mm-hmm.
The school board has definitely been in the news. What do you think about that?
It has been a challenge, and there's no doubt that the state is going to take over, which I am vehemently opposed to. When they took over before, it was a disaster. There used to be something called I zones, and that's what we did. Shelby County did, and those were more successful than when the state took over, when it was DS, I think it's DS, I can't think of it at the moment, but theirs failed miserably. Now the school board, it's unfortunate that there's so much infighting, but it's not just the school board that we're seeing, Tamara. You see it with county commission, you see it with city council, you see it between the mayor and the sheriff.
That's true.
We need to work on relationships. And that is something that I would want to do within the first 90 days of being mayor, is to pull all electeds around the table and say, all right, let's do some prioritization of goals. And what are we going to do? Who's going to do what? Let's set some service quality indicators so that the community can see and understand what it is that we want to do. Because every time I go and speak to someone, they say, we want change. We don't see anything that's happening. Well, part of the problem is because there's a lack of relationship, and there is a lack of the willingness to give up power. I'm not about power, control, or money. I'm about the betterment of Shelby County, and that's what I want. And so I would really try and drive that home. We're going to have a bunch of new elected officials, and I'm hoping that they will all be all on board. But I would love to see us work together and not in silos, because we cannot move this county forward until we begin to work together.
I have someone in my chat that has a good question. He says, what will it take to consolidate the Memphis Police and the Shelby County Sheriff's Office? I don't know if that could happen, because those are two different entities. Am I right?
You are correct. However, I will say that what I would like to see, and what there used to be, are special units. There used to be a DV unit. There used to be a crisis intervention unit. There used to be a DUI unit, and they did work. It was functional consolidation. It was metro units. I would love to see those come back. I don't think they've fully gone away, but I'd like to see them expanded and work better together. But again, it's that relationship issue of MPD does not get along with the sheriff's office. And I'm hoping to mend those fences, because I think we can work together. There are so many initiatives that we're trying to duplicate. And if we don't need to reinvent the wheel. If we can identify if MPD needs to do it or the sheriff's office needs to do it, then I think in tandem, we can work better together. But no, you won't see the consolidation of the two law enforcement agencies, but I would like to see them working better together.
Okay. Now, we know the election is, of course, this year. Mm-hmm. We're hoping. And
Wednesday, actually, it starts.
Yes.
Yes.
The first 100 days in office.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do?
Well, I just mentioned what I do in 90 days, and that would be to pull everybody together and kind of do some goal setting. The other thing I want to do is, I'm very concerned about the budget. Being that I am currently an elected official, I have been very close to the budget process. And what I did when I became the criminal court clerk, the very first day I came in, I did a forensic audit, because I wanted to make sure that we were starting off on the right foot. and making sure there was transparency and accountability with the community, because they need to have an understanding of where the money comes from, what happens to it, and they want to make sure that everything is done correctly. So I would need to do a full assessment of the budget and to ensure that we are spending wisely and allocating funds as we should. I'd also want to look at the possibility of what can we do in regard to, are there any other revenue streams that we can find? Because unfortunately, we are in a crisis in regard to budget. And also, I just talked about functional consolidation. Are there some things that we could do to work with either the city or with MPD to where we wouldn't have to take the brunt of some of those financial burdens? And I would also fight the state, not fight, let me just say advocate for Shelby County to get more funding. One of the things that we received, so we're the largest county in the state of Tennessee, and we house the most inmates, but we only receive $41 a day when other communities and counties get $91 a day for their inmates. And that is specifically only Shelby County. And I think that it's just to hinder our movement. And it's because we are Shelby County and it's completely political. And I would like to see that changed, because that could be another source of revenue.
Right, because when you go to Nashville, you see how rapidly they seem to be developing. But when you look at Nashville, I'm like, dog, it's kind of like the direction that we were once going in, like on Beale Street. Like they've kind of mimicked or kind of outran what we were doing in the beginning, anyways.
I wish we would have consolidated governments in the 60s when Nashville did. I know that their metro government does have some issues, but when I moved here, and I moved here in 1999, I was a little surprised that there was two governments for such a small area. I don't see the two governments ever consolidating. Like I said, we'll have some functional consolidation. We've already seen it, and I think we'll see more of it. But I think the reason why Nashville flourishes the way it does is because they have one system. And we also are very different than Nashville. Like you mentioned, Tamara, we have a poverty issue here. We also have a crime issue here. And still, until we clean up Memphis and Shelby County, it's going to be difficult for us to entice businesses and corporations to come to Memphis. But I see it happening. I am certainly a cheerleader for Shelby County, and I think that it is possible. But I think that's what we're always seeing, and we're always being compared to either Atlanta or Nashville. And we have to remember that we are different. We are Memphis and Shelby County, and we have to deal with our own issues. But I certainly think that we can thrive. And I do believe that we have a better future on the horizon.
I don't know if you've answered this question, but one of my subs just asked, what are you planning to do to attract jobs, to get them to come to Memphis? But you just spoke about because of the crime, that's one of the deterrences. But what are you planning to do? You may have already spoken about that, because I know that we have to clean up crime.
Yeah, I did a little bit. So it's always great to hang that carrot and entice larger corporations to come to Memphis and Shelby County. And I certainly think that we should do that. But I also truly believe that when they come here, we need to make sure there is a contract or an agreement that they are going to invest in Shelby County. Be it they're going to invest in the schools, they're going to invest in other businesses, or they're going to invest in human capital, because we need to make sure that they hire from here, from within. Because sometimes when corporations come in here, they hire outside of Memphis and Shelby County. So I would want that to happen. But I also believe in investing in small businesses here in Shelby County, because it's important for us to make sure that those small mom and pop and smaller businesses are thriving, because we cannot turn a blind eye to those small businesses just because we want to entice bigger corporations, because they are the backbone of Shelby County. And we need to ensure that they are succeeding, as well as it's dual purpose. It's making sure small businesses are thriving, but also making sure that we're enticing corporations to come into Shelby County and making sure they make an impact.
Contracts. I got because a young lady sent me a message, and she's a African-American business in Memphis, and more minorities are concerned about not getting contracts.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan to even that playing field?
And I agree. I think that we really need to look at the process of procurement as well as contracts. I don't think that the communication has been well received to all businesses. So, unfortunately, when there are governmental contracts to be given and they communicate that you can bid on certain contracts, some of these smaller owned businesses, especially minority owned and women owned businesses, aren't receiving that information. We want to make sure that everyone gets a fair shake. And so, I would look at that process and ensure that we give everyone a fair chance.
Okay. I have people in Memphis and Shelby County in the chat. I don't want to miss them. Reginald says, why do I pay city and county taxes on my home and people in the county only pay county taxes?
Mainly it's because we don't live in the city and there's different services, unfortunately. Your city taxes are going to pay for things like fixing the streets, which we wish they would do better at because of all the potholes. I don't know how many people have gotten a flat tire because of that. I would like to see that improved. Also, services such as fire is a little bit different. There's fire fees for Shelby and city. And there's also trash pickup. And so the services are just a little bit different. But yes, it's unfortunate that there are so many taxes. But one of the things that I would want to do is a property tax freeze, which means whatever you paid for this year is what you would pay next year. I have no desire or inclination to increase property taxes.
Great. That was definitely a question. You just answered
Mm-hmm.
that. A young lady in the chat says, now Heidi you asked me if is she running Democratic or Republican. She's a Democrat, but she also asked, are you willing to work with the Trump administration on continuing to make Memphis great again and Republicans on make Memphis matter? I guess the question should be, how do you feel about that?
It depends what we're talking about. Now, if we're talking about National Guard and ICE, I am completely against the deployment of National Guard unless it's a national emergency, which we currently do not have. And I do not like the fact that we have ICE out there profiling Black and brown individuals that are hurting our community. I will say some of the things that have been deployed, such as state troopers and some of the federal agents, has actually taught us some lessons. I wasn't for it because there was no plan. There was no understanding of what they were going to do. But let me just say, even though we've had a lot of arrests and we do have a lot of people in jail, it has sort of taught us we need to change our policies on certain things. And procedures. And that has been a lesson. The other thing is our juvenile crime has been reduced. And one of the things that the federal agents have done, which is impressive and something we didn't consider with the carjackings, you've seen carjackings go down because what they're using is drone patrols. And so these drones are hovering over where a lot of these carjackings are happening. And if there is a carjacking, the drone follows that car and then MPD is deployed and they can retrieve that car and that individual at the time, something we didn't consider. Now, I am not an advocate of what Trump is doing or what he has done. I do believe that we need to work with Republicans for the betterment of the community. And I don't know necessarily what that looks like. What I don't like currently is the divisiveness and the polarization that we are seeing. I also think that, unfortunately, the state doesn't give us funding because of who we are and because we are a blue county. But I will fight for Shelby County in every possible way that I can for the betterment of the citizens.
Okay. I have a young lady. She may have. How will you encourage innovation and technology advancement within industries? Would that even come before your office?
Not necessarily, but I want to tell you that there's something that I've been looking at and working with. I do think that I want to work with higher education institutions, and so we can do some forecasting on what is trending in regard to technology And even Southwest Tennessee Community College, I believe that I can't remember if she said they're the only one in the state or possibly the only one in the nation that has an AI certification. And I love that they have that because they have implemented a curriculum to be able to let these kids have a degree or certification that's going to help them advance. I think that's really important for us to do. And I wish that U of M and Christian Brothers and Lemoyne Owen, we could look at and forecast what is trending. We have the possibility of this to be a great technology hub, but we need to prepare the students to be able to stay here because as soon as they're educated, we don't want them to leave Memphis and Shelby County. We would love for them to stay here, but we have to offer them opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Now, Heidi, you've been in government, working in government for many, many years now, and you've had the opportunity to see things go from good to bad.
Mm-hmm.
Just can you give us your analysis, or and it's just in your, just from why do you think that it is? What has happened?
What has happened? Well, in 26 years, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen where leadership has done very well, and I've seen where leadership has fallen short. And I think that currently we have this us versus them mentality. I remember when we all used to be able to work better together. And again, I'm going to go back to this relationship issue because I truly believe it's the stem of everything. It's just that we are not working well together. And we used to have a county government when everybody, no matter if you were Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever you may be, could work together and agree on some ideas on how we can thrive. And here, I just believe that it is so divided, an us versus them mentality. And I would love to see that change. And I also think that, and I don't want to bash our current mayor, but it is something that I have seen is a lack of presence within the community and not working with the municipal mayors. And again, the county mayor is the county mayor for the entire county. And so we can't just be focused on Memphis. We also have to work with the other municipalities. And that has been lacking because we cannot move forward if we're just trying to fix one thing. And I think it's the polarization, Tamara. I think that and also funding. I mean, our funding has decreased and our crime has increased. I think that fluctuates. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know exactly. I can't tell you or pinpoint one thing on what we've done. I think that people, when they go and vote, and we just mentioned voting, I think you really need to vet some of these candidates. I think there are some people that are genuine who want to do well for the community. And I think that there are others that perhaps are more in it for themselves. And I would encourage all your listeners to do their research on all the candidates, not just for mayor, but for sheriff, for commissioner, for city council, for school board, whatever it may be, because leadership begins at the top, but you've got to have a leader who's going to also work with the community, who's also going to be transparent, who's going to be accessible, who's going to be approachable, someone who's going to lean in and listen. Because I'm tired of people making campaign promises and not delivering. I've delivered results. In all of the 27 years that I've been in the county, I've delivered results. And so I think people really need to make sure that they are voting for someone who's going to make a difference and someone who aligns themselves with their ideology.
One of the great things, and this is something that we've talked about on this channel all of the time that you spoke about, was VOTEC. That's right, Stanley. That's something that we always talk about. That's something that we had when we were in school, and they ended up removing them. And I can remember in junior high school, they call them middle school now. The middle schools now, we used to go to shop. We had home ec, so we learned how to sew. We learned how to make pillows. We learned how to cook. They had auto, they were teaching them how to, they had auto mechanic, like they knew how to work
Mhm.
on cars. Like this is something that they took away because, as we say, I mean, it's just not meant for everyone to go to college. They don't want to, but they're really good with their hands. And so they left school with a trade and they could go get
Yes.
jobs.
And I, like you, I took wood shop. I also took home
Me
ec,
too.
and I learned a lot. Not that I was going to be a carpenter by any means, and I was actually quite bad, but you don't see those courses in schools any longer. We also had an auto shop where it was neat, where people would bring their cars in and these kids would learn how to fix them. I would love to see that return because these kids don't have other opportunities if they choose not to go to school, or maybe they can't afford to go to school. But I think partnering with some of these labor unions and having an apprenticeship program is really important. One of the things that I did way back when is I had something called Youth Build, and it was training students for a trade and at working with these labor unions. But not only that, we would work with the kids for a skill set, but then we would bring in their parents or family for them to be educated either financially or maybe illiteracy or whatever it may be. But it was the entire family that was learning how to live better. So the kids were getting an education and the parents were getting an education. And we can't put everything on the children. I feel bad for the parents currently because so many of them are working 2 and 3 jobs that they can't
Mhm.
be home with their children. And unfortunately, there's a lot of parents who are afraid of their children currently. And we need to offer these kids opportunities to do something else than possibly going to a life of crime. And I do think that trades is something that we can implement in these schools or even have these trade schools to give them options.
Well, Heidi, that's so amazing because my late father, who was a union guy, he
Mhm.
wanted to s- work with the. He actually tried to work with the county government on opening up like an electrical school. And what
Mm.
they would do is train young men and women on how to, so that they could get jobs at, like MLGNW and places like that. MLGNW is still one of the best kept secrets. They have really good jobs, really good benefits. I know that for a fact.
Yes. And I had something when I worked, I was over the reentry program for corrections. We had a special program there in which we were teaching incarcerated folks a skill so that when they got out, then they could get a job.
That's amazing. So Heidi, we have about 15 more minutes. Tell my audience, well, I would give them the opportunity to call in. You all can start calling in at, while it got 15 minutes. Because I know Heidi has a lot of things that she has to do. But tell my audience why they should vote for you.
Absolutely. I think that not just vote for me, but believe in me, because I believe that a lot of Shelby Countyans have lost their hope. And I have always been able to instill hope in the communities in which I've done, like I said, from adolescent pregnancy, HIV and AIDS, um, crime victims, defendants, aging, veterans. I've made a difference. And I want to instill hope in Shelby County again. And I don't mean hope like, oh, we hope this is going to work. I mean hope with a plan and hope with an action, because I am a very results oriented individual. I am not going to tell you something and not follow through. I said when I was running for criminal court clerk, I don't make campaign promises, I make campaign commitments. And that is something that I've done and I followed through on. You can follow my track record as an elected official. I did the forensic audit. I've increased technology. I got my employees raises. I have changed things with expungements. So I'm always going to look at what we can do better. And I'm always going to involve people that are around me that may know more, because a mayor or a clerk can't know everything about everything. You have to surround yourself with good people who are knowledgeable, who can give you advice and can help you make the decisions for the betterment of the community. So I am asking that your listeners and everyone in Memphis and Shelby County really consider to have hope with Heidi if we want to change Shelby County.
We have a caller. What's your name?
My name is Reginald.
Hi, Reginald. What did you want to ask Heidi?
Yes, I've really enjoyed the show tonight, and I have always believed that this Heidi, she have always done the work, and I've just encouraged people to vote for her. But my question is, I'm talking about the county mayor position. To me, the way the prior administration before and AC Ward, it just seemed like the county mayor's seat doesn't mean anything because you never have to see people visible, the county mayor being visible and doing things in the community. So what importance do the county mayor's job have? Because I never really just thought they was important because I never had to see them. Thank you.
Reginald, I think I heard your question. I think that depends on the mayor. As mayor, you will always see Mayor Kuhn in the community because that's where I believe I need to be and have a presence. But you asked about the jobs and that maybe the responsibility. So the responsibility of the county mayor is to ensure that we spend the property taxes correctly. We also have the departments. We are over with the sheriff's office and the corrections, public works, the community services division. Trying to think what else. We do the funding for, we provide the funding for the schools as well as Regional 1. And we are building 2 new schools, one in Fraser and one in Cordova. And we do provide some housing opportunities. There's a lot that the Shelby County mayor does. It's just, is that person visible and are you understanding what they do? Because maybe that has not been communicated. And I get the question all the time of what does the mayor do versus the city mayor? And I also think there's a lot of confusion of even that we have this election coming up starting on Wednesday to vote. Most people don't even know that there's an election. And when you tell them, well, you can vote for me. And they're like, well, I live in Lakeland or I live in Millington and I can't vote for you. But you live in Shelby County. And so there needs to be that understanding that if you live in Shelby County, you can vote for the Shelby County mayor. Some people think that, oh, didn't we just vote for Paul Young? No, that was city mayor. So I think there's a lack of understanding on both sides. And there isn't a hierarchy. So we are all at the same level. All the mayors are at the same level. Now, as county mayor, I am over the county per se. But there is a Germantown mayor, there is a Collierville mayor, there is a Bartlett mayor, and of course there is a city mayor. All the municipals have mayors, and we all work together or should work together for all the constituents.
Okay. Now, Heidi, you spoke about you worked for the health department, and I'm thinking about what I've been reading about how juveniles, the STD rate is at a all-time high. What do we do about that?
Unfortunately, sometimes Memphis is known for some of the worst things. We're at the top of the list for the worst things like obesity, diabetes, STIs. So with I think that more education needs to happen. I think it's really difficult right now when we try to, we have a high HIV and AIDS rate here. And thank goodness, I will say that at least that is now a manageable disease because when I worked in HIV and AIDS in the early 90s, it wasn't. It was a death sentence. So we have seen a lot of advancement since then. But I think education is key. I would love to see some of that education be in the schools again. I am unsure right now of how much of sex ed is happening. But
they've taken it totally out, basically.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I think that, kids nowadays, sex is just something you do no matter how old you are. And I just think they don't understand the consequences. And that's something I dealt with when I was trying to reduce adolescent pregnancy is they weren't taking the precautions in order to reduce pregnancy. But we also got to look at, well, what about the STIs? Because we have such a high STI rate and we need to talk about what it is and how you get it and how you treat it without the stigma.
Okay. There's a young lady on Facebook, because we're streaming from Facebook too. She wanted me to ask you about um, grants. Are
Mhm.
there, do you know if there are any grants available for businesses?
There are some grants available. So the commission has something called the Community Enhancement Grants, and each commissioner is allocated, I think it's $200,000 that they can give to any either nonprofit or business within their district. I think that the application process has just opened, and I would suggest that any individual that is interested in getting a grant or funding to go to the Shelby County website and look under the County Commission website, and it should have that information there on how to apply. But other than that, the county typically doesn't have too many grants to work with, or like nonprofits or businesses currently.
Okay. Dennis says, Heidi, thank you for caring. Um, well, Heidi, listen. Oh, can you give everyone the dates? I do know that the primary is coming up. There's early voting actually coming up. Can you speak with them about that?
Yes, absolutely. So early voting starts this Wednesday, April 15th, and it goes through the 30th. And during the weekday, the election polls are open from 11 to 7. And I believe on Saturday, they are open from, I want to say, 8 to 2. And I encourage anyone to early vote, because you never know what's going to happen on election day. It could be weather, it could be a broken down car, or you or a child is sick. So, and early voting is so incredibly easy. You can just be driving and you'll see a sign that says an early voting site. Just turn in and go in and vote. You'll need your ID, and you'll need to choose either a D or an R ballot, and you'll just point to that. And I'm on the D ballot because I am a Democrat. And there'll be many things to vote for. There'll be mayor and sheriff, commissioners, school board, all the clerks. And so you'll have a lot of opportunity to do your research on who you want to vote for. And if you don't know something about someone or even the office, I suggest you just don't vote in that. That's okay too. So if you maybe don't know everyone in the county clerk's office, or you don't know what the county clerk does, skip it, because it can be more detrimental if you vote for someone that you don't know and then they win, because that can be a problem. And you're like, oh, I think I voted for that person. Make sure you know who you're voting for when you go in, or just skip it. Don't just go on name ID. That's really important. Make sure that you know these candidates and know their platforms and where they stand and if they align with your ideology. And then, as mentioned, May 5th, which is Cinco de Mayo, is election day. And so you will need to go to your poll in which you are assigned. And if you can go on the Shelby County election website, and you can check your registration, and it will also give the location of where you will need to go on election day. But like I said, for early voting, you can go anywhere.
These questions, they said, what do you plan to do about Steve Mulroy? Steve Mulroy is he's
He
an
was an
elected
elected
official.
official. I currently work with him, but there's really not a lot I can do about him. I can work with him, and we can try to have common ideas and programs and implement those, but I can't per se do anything about him.
Yeah, Steve's a nice guy. But yeah, I mean, he could stand some working with, though, I tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Heidi, I really appreciated you coming on. I'm trying to think. There was another question that I had for you. But I mean, I'm happy that we got some. I feel like we have someone in the race, and I've had the opportunity to just see your track record. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all positive, like no shadiness, no nothing, just all positive. When you have, oftentimes, I think the issue has been, and I think this has been the cry of of a lot of people. You get people and they are elected, and once they are elected, they don't really care anymore. They don't care about the employees or anything like that. And then they only start caring when it's time for reelection. But Heidi got into office and she's done the work. Okay, she's always been community orientated. She got in getting raises for her employees. I mean, that's one of the highest honors right there. To care about the people that work for you and not just yourself. And so that's why I believe that she is definitely a good choice for Shelby County because she has a track record. I'm not saying anything bad about any of the other candidates. It's just that I've had the opportunity to evaluate everyone, and I see exactly what she has done. And it has definitely been, she's been proactive. It has been positive. It's definitely been about the people, right? It's been about the people. And that's just what I love. That's what I love. And so we're hoping that she wins.
Thank
So
you
that
for
she
that.
can.
And
Yes,
I do want to share that, I truly believe in giving back to the community, and it's always been in my heart. And our office gives back a lot. I believe it's a great platform for me, but we do certain things for the community that we've done since I was elected in 2018. Like we make domestic violence hygiene kits for women in shelters. We feed the homeless sack lunches every July. We create those. We have sock drives. We have glove and coat drives for the Union Mission. We have food drives. We have school drives. We just truly believe in giving back. And I will say, my employees, they don't make a lot of money. And I don't mandate that they give, but they have such big hearts that we give continually, several times a year, every year, because I just believe it's important to give back to the community. And you're right, Tamara, I'm not out there just during election season. And it bothers me that you will see people out there, whatever they may be doing, only when they want to get elected. And I'm not doing this to get elected. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do because I believe in people.
absolutely. Now let me ask you this before you go. Do
Mhm.
you think that the kickback that you've been getting, has it been really positive? Are you surprised at how receptive people have been?
A lot of people ask me if they think that Shelby County is ready for a female mayor. And I said, I don't know. We'll know on May 5th, but I think that they're ready for Heidi Kuhn. And also I get to say, and you mentioned it earlier, you said that this should not be about race. And I get it all the time. A lot of people think I'm a Republican, which I'm not. We're going to say again, I'm a Democrat. I was the Democratic criminal court clerk. But honestly, yes, I may be a Caucasian woman, but I truly believe that leadership doesn't have a color. And if we're being honest, everything I've done in my entire career with Shelby County has impacted and affected positively the African American community. So that's why I've been in the community. I think that's why I have a good reputation in the community. People know that I do the work and I stand with and for the people. So I feel very good about my candidacy. I think we certainly have a path. I'm excited about it. And I believe in the people and I hope they believe in me.
Well, I have to say this coming from the African American community, Heidi. I think that, well, not think, in our community, we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to get away from, I'm so happy. It's like the veil is being removed away from just voting based on race.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think that may be one of the problems, right? And so to see so many people being interested in and looking outside of the race, like who's going to help our community, because we're in a state of emergency. Make
Yeah.
our community inclusive, basically,
Mm-hmm.
not just help the Black community, because you have to help all communities,
Right.
but make us inclusive. And I think that because in Memphis and Shelby County is predominantly African American, and we have predominantly African American leadership. And so now I feel like and it has been that way for a long time. Now I feel it makes me very proud to see that our community is starting to remove the veil and say, listen, I don't care what race they are, who is going to help us also make us inclusive, because we're in a state of emergency. We have all of this poverty, we have all of this crime, and something has to happen. It's not about who is Black, it's about who is going to help the Black community also.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And again, I just ask that people do their due diligence, learn about the candidates, and make a decision. And I'm hoping that decision will be Heidi Kuhn for Shelby County Mayor.
Absolutely. Heidi Kuhn, Shelby County Mayor. Thank you for coming up, Heidi.
Well,
I
I
enjoyed
appreciate the
you.
opportunity. Yes, and thank you to all your listeners who are interested in what I had to say and that they are part of the process, because unfortunately there are so many people that don't educate themselves and don't have an understanding about the political process. And so my heart is warm that you have tuned in and you have listened and you are interested and engaged. So thank you all for tuning in.
One more time before you leave, Heidi, tell
Yeah.
them one more time, what do they need to do as far as expungements for those that just came in? Do they just need to call your office?
Yes. So because we just had our clinic yesterday, we've missed that clinic, but you don't have to go to a clinic to find out if you're eligible. So what you need to do is you can call our office at 222-3200 and ask for expungements, and they can look up your case and let you know if you're eligible, if you owe fines and fees, or even if it's in general sessions, we can help you with that. Or if you want, you can come to 201 Poplar and we can help you. And if you owe fines and fees, like I said before, if you haven't paid and you owe over $1,000, if you come in and get 50% of what you owe, I will zero out your balance to help you get an expungement.
All right. That is so freaking awesome. Well, thank you, Heidi. I truly appreciate you taking time out of your day to speak with my audience. Also, for those persons, those older people who don't do social media, this will air exactly like this as a pre-recorded show next Saturday on Comcast Channel 31.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Tamara. I really enjoyed speaking with you all today.
Thank you for coming up. Tell Matt I said hello.
I will do it.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Shout out to Heidi. Really appreciated Heidi coming up. Yes, that was pretty. Yeah, I really appreciate her coming on. Like, I've been extremely impressed with all of the no problem, Reginald. I've been really impressed. He said, please don't expunge Quest. I've been really impressed with all of the expungement clinics, and you all heard us speak about the stipulations that there are as it relates to those clinics. But one of the misconceptions is a lot of people feel like, well, I can't get a lawyer. And I think that is what has been promoted a lot. People feeling like they need a lawyer. I think she's made those clinics friendly. And when I say friendly, I hope I'm saying it right, like people friendly, whereas they work with you step by step, and not just give you the paperwork for you to figure it out, or just put it online and you figure it out. That's what those clinics are for, so that they can answer questions. And they've helped over 10,000 people to get their backgrounds back right again, so that they can get jobs, because that has been the outcry of a lot of people in our community. And sometimes people, get into trouble and stuff when they are, younger, like juveniles, sometimes juveniles or just young adults, right? And then as they get older, they want to change their life, but they still got what they did when they were younger on their background. They don't know what to do, right? They want to become a productive member of society. And so she has been helping them to make that happen, especially working with them to expunge over 10,000 people, 10,000 people getting expunged. Also, another thing that I love that she spoke about, and that is helping with the Shelby County schools on getting VOTEC back in. That is something that is needed. That alone will help to take crime down, you guys. Y'all know we talk about that all the time. Bringing back VOTEC, like technical schools, so that they can have hands-on training also while they are in school, just like we did. Okay. They might come out and be a damn shade tree mechanic, but at least they're making some darn money. Okay. They can stand up under the tree and they know how to change oils, and they out there making money changing oils and not breaking up into somebody's house. Okay. So we need that back. I used to know how to use a sewing machine. We used to make pillows and stuff. People can make now. Look at what people do. They know how to those people that know how to engrave, sew in your names and stuff like that. They could start stores, and now you could do it online, or online store. I wish I had kept that skill up, but they started teaching us that in home ec. And we used to be so happy. We'd get the sewing machines and we sewed our names on our pillows. And, they sell these pillows and stuff like that in the store for like $40 and $50 when it really was easy. And all you need is the material, which is probably about less than $10. Everything together might be $15, and that's what they do, or less. And then they sell them in the store for like $50, $60 when you could start learning to do that stuff at home. And that's a trade. You could do it on the side and start selling stuff online. That could be extra income. This is something that our kids can do that could keep them out of trouble. Just imagine them start learning that in middle school, and by the time they get to high school, they know how to do this really good, and they start an online store. They're already making money. You're teaching them entrepreneurship. So these are the things that were stripped out of our schools, and they got to be added back. Now, y'all know I always talked about it's important, okay, that we do not. I think we've had enough of that. I hate to say it. I didn't want to say it with Heidi on here because y'all know how y'all be getting. Well, I think you be talking down on our community. I don't talk down on our community. I have to speak the truth. Y'all know I'm bold like that. A lot of the reasons that we're in the positions that we're in now in Memphis and Shelby County is because we voted based on race, okay? And them damn cuckabug kids ain't did a darn thing but look out for themselves or sell out, okay? So we need someone that's in there strong, that's going to do what they say they're going to do. And we cannot, the men can't be chauvinist, okay? And a lot of them so down on their luck right now, okay? No jobs, people are hurting so bad, you ain't got the damn luxury of being a damn chauvinist pig, okay? So you cannot just say, well, we can't vote for her because she's a woman, when she is going to help your economic situation, okay? You can't be arrogant and broke, okay? You can't be arrogant and broke, okay? So what we got to do is we got to choose right. We got to choose right. And I never would have brought her on my platform if I didn't think that she was right. Now, I know that there's another, people might say, well, what made you choose Heidi over Dr. Fagans? Let me say this, okay? Because I know how folks are in our community. I have to go ahead and address it. What made me choose Heidi over Dr. Fagans is because Heidi has been in our community working now for many years. She knows the government. She's been doing the work. She's worked in different levels of the government, implementing new programs in just about every department of government she has worked in, and she knows it, okay? I think that Dr. Fagans is an intelligent woman, but Dr. Fagans just got to Memphis, right? She doesn't really know. She has not seen. Heidi has been here when she saw the good and the bad. Dr. Fagans just got here. She don't know if it's good or bad, okay? She know it's bad because what them damn fools did to her over there at the schoolhouse, at the board. But, I think that Dr. Fagans need to work within the community just a little while longer, okay? Get to learn the government, learn the people just a little while longer. Heidi has put in the work and it has been positive. There is a track record and it has been positive, okay? So I think that she's she's more qualified just because of that. I'm not saying, when people start talking about, well, what do you mean qualified? You're saying she's smarter. I'm saying she has a track record of working in Memphis and Shelby County and implement positive things. Okay. Dr. Fagans does not at this point. Not at this point. Okay. Not at this point. Now, after Heidi is elected and she runs, we elect her twice. Okay, she run and we watch her. We have to, when we elect people, we have to watch them to make sure they do what they say they're gonna do. Okay, she do what she's gonna say she's gonna do in 4 years. We elect her again. Okay. And then after that, maybe if Dr. Fagan says put in the work, and then we'll elect her too. Okay. Because, I don't leave nobody out or behind. Okay. I want to make Dr. Fagan's inclusive too. It just ain't her time this time. Okay. It ain't nothing personal. It's just not her time this time. All right. Anyways, you guys, that was a good show. I really appreciated it. Now, I know they say that there are some men running. Okay. Y'all, listen, I don't want to say nothing bad about nobody. Okay. Well, I will say this. If I wasn't gonna vote for Heidi, if Heidi wasn't in the race, I think, Miguel. Miguel seems to be a pretty nice person. He would probably be a second. He been over there on the commission. Yeah, see, I'm learning, y'all. If you don't say nothing, okay. But then that's about it. I ain't got nothing else to say about nothing else, okay? I'm gonna keep it nice and right. Anyway, y'all, listen, y'all, I have not eaten. I didn't want to eat before I talked to Heidi. I'm making me a chicken Caesar salad. My chicken Caesar salads be the bomb. Because y'all know once you eat, you get lazy and tired. And I was like, I want to be all perked up and stuff when Heidi comes on. And so I may get back on tonight after I eat if I don't follow. I was up to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning with my grandbaby. Y'all, believe it or not, my grandbaby do me like a dog. Her mama says she never stays up that late. So why was she up that late with me talking about Gigi? Make me coffee. We was drinking coffee at 1 o'clock in the morning. And guess what? When she woke up this morning, I said, what you want? You want bacon and eggs? I want coffee. Make me coffee. Her mama said when she's at home, she does not ask for coffee at all. But when she comes to my house, she make me make her coffee. Okay. Her mama called and said, I can't believe my baby is up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was like, yes, she wanted some coffee. So, I had to make her some coffee at 1 o'clock in the morning. Then I had to make her some this morning before she left and went home, child. So I don't understand that. I ordered some more coffee too. She liked that Maxwell House coffee, so I ordered some more. So when she come back, we'll have Maxwell House. Anyways, you guys, I'm gonna get off of here so that I can cook. I love you all. Thank you all for getting on and asking questions. There were people asking me questions on my Facebook like page, and I was looking at. Sometimes I forget to click into the other. I was trying to go back and forth from Facebook to YouTube, but I was forgetting. Next time I'll just have my phone open looking at Facebook. So anyways, you guys, we enjoyed Heidi coming on. We appreciate her coming on. Make sure if you're in Memphis and Shelby County, you get out and vote and go and vote for Heidi. Okay? Go and vote for Heidi. I truly believe that, and I really mean this. I'm going to say this, and I don't care what nobody say about this. I believe that if Heidi is elected, we're not going to have to worry about those, how do I want to say it? Because I be trying not to offend people. I'm trying to watch how I say stuff. Those contracts, I do believe that Heidi would be fair with the contracts. Because I think what's going on now is folks is giving them to their family members. Okay, that's what's going on. I think she'll make the playing field even. So, anyways, y'all, I love you all. You all have a good night. Let me say a prayer before I get off of here. Dear God, I just thank you for everyone that was on this live. I thank you, God, that this live went just as I wanted it to go. I thank you for all of my subscribers, the blessings that you've given us all. Each and every one of us that has to get up and go to work tomorrow, I ask that you go before us, take care of us and our families. No weapon formed against any of us shall prosper. Any lying tongue, anything that tries to rise up against us will be condemned. Any evil thoughts, any witchcraft spoken out, any evil things that was put into the atmosphere on this live, we reverse every curse and send it back to the sender, and may it manifest in their very own lives in less than 30 days. I love you all. It has been a pleasure tonight. I'll talk with you later.